my left? Yes, Mr. Raymore?
From the very start of this ordeal, I've expressed to the citizens that supported me and those that did not support me that the city's drinking water is fine. We have the best tasting, the best drinking water in the state. It's always been that way. When it was DWSD, they won so many awards. I worked for DWSD for many years, I know that. There is nothing to be worried about with the drinking water in the city of Westland, overall, as a whole. I brought these allegations to the mayor in confidence in order to try to get these matters resolved in-house without going through the public, meaning the media. I believe in transparency, and obviously there was no transparency here in this issue because the documentation and the evidence that I presented to the mayor was held back from council for 3 weeks, 3 whole weeks, when the mayor had this stuff in his hand, and he personally guaranteed me, I will see that they get it in their mailboxes. It did not happen. Well, that's neither here nor there. Allow me, please, citizens, to direct your attention to this document. This is a water tap sampling data form, allegedly compiled by Water Superintendent Doug Morton. He submitted this document to the DEQ September 11, 2014, containing water sample results for addresses he listed on that form as Category 1 lead pipe services known to exist within the city. At this point, I'm sure everyone in this room knows about this document. Mentioned form lists 15 homes, 11 of which Mayor Weil ordered excavated at the curb box over the past weekend. Of those homes were confirmed to be copper services containing no lead whatsoever. 10 of those homes, they had copper. Copper on one side, copper on the other side. Now, by excavating those properties, 2 interesting things have occurred. Number one, obviously the unnecessary fears of 10 homeowners have now been put to rest. That's great. I'm happy for that. They can sleep at night. Number two, Mayor Weil himself, by exposing those copper services, has provided us all with possible proof that falsified documentation was submitted to the DEQ. We now know without a doubt water quality samples taken from these homes in 2014 were actually taken from copper services, not lead services, as listed in the DEQ form that was submitted. And Mr. Fasson admits that he submitted it for years and years and years. You asked him yourself. You said, do you sell it in the same houses every year? He says, yes, the same 15. So of course
Your time's up, Mr. Raymore.
You're not going to get that lead level. You're not going to get an over lead level when you're testing for copper pipe.
Your time's up, Mr. Raymore.
We yield our time.
Anyone on my right? Anyone on my left? Anyone else in the audience? We'll close citizens' comments and move on. First, I want to thank the DPS people that are here. They've been here all evening. These guys and gals do a great job for us. You know, it's unfortunate that we even had to have this meeting this evening. As Councilman Kerr indicated, and as Councilwoman Cicerelli-Bryan indicated, we did know about it 2 weeks prior when the city attorney met with us individually, so that we didn't have a meeting, to go through the allegations raised by Mr. Raymore. Most of those allegations had to do with the supervision and things that were done from a supervisor's standpoint, not necessarily dealing with hazardous materials or lead in the water. He even got up here this evening and said, Westland doesn't have a problem with lead in the water. But it's that fear, uncertainty, and doubt that caused all of you people to come up here today. Do we need, in my opinion, do we need to test all of these homes? Do we need to expand this test? No. Well, wait a minute. Let's look at this from the standpoint of, yes, we're going to do it to try and alleviate the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but the fear, uncertainty, and doubt didn't even need to occur had the time been given to, and the investigation, what it revealed to the council members. We were all concerned when we got the information as well. You know, not all of us went out there and took photos and got our Facebook pages updated, but I was out there, as were other council members, to make sure that things were being done. Our DPS crew did a great job. They acted quickly, very efficiently, and you know, it's unfortunate that we let the spin take over the reality. The reality is that probably 99% of all of the old lead leads in this city have been replaced 15 to 20 years ago. And because of an allegation, we created this, we've got lead in the water. The Westland Watchdog site, Mr. Campbell and Mr. Boron on his site, on the whatever it's called, you know, spun this out of control, created this fervor in the community that we've got lead in our water. And here tonight, Mr. Raymore even admits, we don't have lead in our water. So, excuse me, I didn't interrupt you when you were up there speaking. So, the fact of the matter is, it was a personnel issue. It was brought to our attention 2 weeks prior, not like Mr. Coleman indicated that it was a shock out of the blue. It was a personnel issue that was brought forward. It was explained to us, and before the city attorney, the 2 weeks later, like he indicated, came back with his report on what he found as part of the allegations, Mr. Raymore gets up and makes his statements at the council meeting, which caused this whole furor. If you really look at the timeline of events that occurred and how these complaints came about because he's concerned, it had to do with losing a Civil Rights Commission filing and an EEOC complaint. And it came ironically about 2 weeks after the claim was denied. Excuse me. So, excuse me, I'm not killing the messenger. I'm stating facts, sir.
I am going to be here, the eyes and ears for these citizens until I retire.
Mr. Raymore, you're out of order.
Any wrongdoing.
Mr. Raymore, you're out of order.
In the city, I'll report it directly to the citizens because I do not serve the.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I serve the citizens.
Meeting adjourned.
Good evening, Steve Boron. I would like to know the procedure for forming an ordinance or citizen referendum. A few weeks back, I turned in language for prior approval so as not to waste time like the last petition, and received a letter back from Mr. LeBlanc where he quoted the city attorney that the wording I turned in was non-compliant according to 7.7 of the city charter. I don't know what was non-compliant about the wording. I spoke to Mr. LeBlanc, who tried to help me out. Thank you, Richard. The best he could. So I went down to see Attorney Krista Hartunian of the Wayne County Board of Canvassers. She thinks both the non-compliant section of the letter and section 7.7 are worded to deprive information from the citizens, effectively limiting the voice of the people. She gave me the following questions to ask. Who supplies the petition, template, or the petition paper, or is any petition okay? Is each page notarized? Is the affidavit a cover page or included onto each signed page? Who chooses the legality of the ordinance? And if it is council, under what legal authority and statute grants them the power to determine legality and offer opinions? My second point of the evening is a bit dated. I'd like to address Mr. Godbout's personal attack on February 22nd, where he, in a racially charged comment, he made an attack on Mr. Raymore, which was extremely deceptive, selectively mentioning personal information on EEOC and civil rights complaint, trying to paint Mr. Raymore as a disgruntled black man. Conveniently, Mr. Godbout failed to mention through arbitration, Mr. Raymore was awarded back compensation for unjust suspension. If we're going to mention something, mention it all. The personal attacks continued on February 22nd to other citizens. Mr. Godbout blamed me for a website that was giving out misinformation, which is a complete lie. He has yet to provide proof for this fabrication. Clearly a poor example of leadership, lying, projecting bigotry, and as of February, having 3 years of arrearages on his water bill while collecting money from the taxpayers is a true slap in the face. Mr. Godbout needs to apologize to the entire city for being a bigot and a liar. Thank you.
There were several comments about my personal financial situation and the water bill scenario. Just to set the record straight, yes, I had some financial issues. I have paid my water bill. I actually had been paying it, which they failed to mention, over the past couple of years to get current. All penalties have been paid on that. The count is current, was current when the watchdogs decided to make an issue out of it, posting data that was not updated on the city website. So just to clarify that point. The only other comment that was made up here this evening that I take great offense to, it was Mr. Boron's comment about me being bigoted and that my remarks in reference to a situation at a February meeting were racially motivated. Ethnicity did not come up as any part of any comment that I made that evening. I wasn't even able to complete my comments that evening because of interruptions while I was doing my comments. So I take great offense to that insinuation and that misrepresentation of what happened that evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?